constitution that says elections must be February 25th. Is there any part of the constitution that says that?
No, but the law, there's a part of the law that gives a window. That gives a window of when you can conduct an election. Not later than 30 days before and not earlier than 150 days. There's a window. There's a timeline for everything in the law.
30 days before?
Yes.
So there's still space.
But the issue is this: the commission was considering, we are living in a jurisdiction where no matter what you do, no matter how credible the election is, there will be litigations. Every Nigerian has been agitating, look, we want a situation where litigations will be dispensed with before the new people are sworn in. So the commission thought, let's bring the election as far back as possible to allow time for litigation before May 29. Because don't forget that May 29 does not shift. It doesn't move. So May 29 is fixed, and you wanted time for conducting the election, and people will undertake litigation anyway. Allow them their litigations before May 29.
Okay. Now, the last elections were held in 2011, and it took you 4 years of planning. Someone asked a question within the week. Between the last election and now, what has INEC been doing? The INEC officials, what's the job they do when they go there, when there are no elections, between the elections? What work are they doing that they'll be having this kind of discrepancies? These are all the questions that have been asked.
Yeah, it's also lack of information about what goes on there and the back-end processes. You see, the first point, really, there have been elections since 2011, if you recall. Yeah. We've been doing isolated state elections.
Test tube elections.
We did one up to the one that we will have done one on October 11, but for the, and we had mobilized, but for the court order that came on the eve of the election. Now, but saying that, since 2011, we have been consolidating and cleaning up the data. Now, you recall that by the time we did the 2011 elections, we did say that the deduplication of the data that we gathered stopped at the polling unit level. In other words, theoretically speaking, I said theoretically because by the remodified open ballot systems that we put in place, it was still not possible. But theoretically, it means that you could register in Mushi local government and also registered in Lagos Island local government and hope to profit from that, because we have not been able to consolidate at the state level. But since then, we've cleaned the data progressively at the local government level, at the state level, and now at the national level. And if you know the mechanics of cleaning that data, you will understand what we are talking about. We captured 73.5 million people, the raw data, in 2011, and theoretically we captured 10 fingerprints. The deduplication process matches each of your fingerprints against each of the fingerprints of 73.5 million people to be able to detect that is not duplicated. That takes time. But since we deduplicated the fake data.
I beg your pardon. Isn't that why you were using computers? These things they're not manually done, are they?
It's not manual. I'm talking of software. The software that is working, the data bank, it runs. The software runs the data. After you have consolidated the data at the local government level, you bring them together at the state. You begin to run the software all through the data again. When you finish the one for Lagos State and all the other states finish their own, you bring them together in Abuja. You begin to run and cross-match with them.
Okay, to be sure that the person didn't register in multiple
Lagos and go to register in FCT. We have to do that. After you did that, we began the process of printing these voter cards. And we have done this exercise in 23 states and the FCT. We printed cards for those states.
Okay. Is this cleanup the reason, therefore, why the number of voters in Lagos reduced by 1.4 million people?
You see, again, we explained this so-called reduction. Now, when we gathered data in 2011, raw figures were announced. Subsequently, we deduplicated. And in deduplicating in Lagos, I think we had 82,892 duplicates. Those were eliminated. Then the people whose fingerprints were not captured, even though their names were captured, their pictures were captured, their addresses, phone numbers were captured, the people whose fingerprints were not captured account for it, because we did say, and we've been saying it since 2011, it's just that there is a selective attention sometimes to these things. We did say the way to know whether there's a challenge with the data that you with the data on the register is this. Even though we have the TVC, when we paste the register, forget that you are given the TVC before. When we paste the register and you come and see that register, your name is not there. What that means is that, yeah, it's true you have a TVC, but unfortunately, it must have been that all your data, especially the fingerprints, were not captured. And the reason why the fingerprint is important is this. On the permanent voter card, the embedded chip contains all the data, including the fingerprints, which will be cross-matched with the fingerprints with which you take it to the polling unit on election day. So if you take it to the polling unit with your fingerprint, you want to see whether you that brought that card, your fingerprint corresponds with the one in the
which was
chip,
taken in
2011. So if it was discovered, and you remember that in 2011, the first 2 days we had challenges, and you discover that many people were registered, and they just circumscribed the issue of the fingerprints and passed on the thing. We did ask people to come back to register, actually. Some did not. Even in 2011, we said, look, especially those of you that registered in the first 2 days, come out. We discovered that there was a challenge. The fingerprint scanner was not functioning optimally. Come back to re-register. Some did, some did not. Quite a number did not. Now, when we are consolidating the data, those fingerprints were not there.
Okay.
And the numbers cannot be reckoned.
Okay. What about young adults who have now attained the age of 18?
Yeah, they're the ones that are also being included, in addition to those who do not find their names on the register, and those who did not register at all before, even though they were 18 in 2011. The third category, very important category, is those who turned 18 since 2011. They are expected to come out as we speak now. Continuous voter registration is going on, even in Lagos.
Okay. Now, what about those who have relocated? People who registered in Ikeja because they were living in Ikeja at the time, who have now relocated to, say, Lekki. Do they have to come all the way to Ikeja to come and get their PVCs?
Absolutely. They have to.
And on election day, they have to come all the way to
Ikeja to vote.
They have a choice to transfer. The law, you see, I've had this thing. So, and with respect to you, I had the point you are making when you spoke to the Lagos Rec in the course of the week. Now, the law has made specific provisions. Section 13 of the Electoral Act made provision that if you registered in one place and you find yourself in another place, you have to transfer your data to that place. You know why? Because Section 49, and you talked about why not voting everywhere. Section 49, I will read it to you. Section 49, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act says, a person intending to vote with his voter card shall present himself to a presiding officer at the polling unit in the constituency in which his name is registered with his voter's card. That's the provision of the law. You have to physically present yourself in the polling unit where your data is before you can vote.
Now, we've talked about those in the same town. What about those who relocate to another town entirely?
They say
I used to live in Lagos, I now live in Asaba.
You transfer your data.
But the question is...
So how do I do that?
Yeah, the law also makes that clear. Maybe I should read that law, so I'm not... It says a person who before the election is resident in a constituency other than the one in which he was registered may apply to the rec of the state where he is currently resident for his name to be entered on the transferred voters list for the constituency. Subsection 2 says, an application under subsection 1, which I've just read, shall be accompanied by the applicant's voter card and shall be made not less than 30 days before the date of an election in the constituency where the applicant is resident. Subsection 3, the rep